Morning, Zoomers. Hopefully we'll get you to stay the whole 20. Last week, unfortunately, I cut off your last 20 minutes, but I didn't. The electricity went at the Buddhist Center, so all should be well this week. Anyway, welcome. Thanks for coming. Good to see you. Welcome, roomers, as well. If you wouldn't mind standing up, that would be super duper. I'd be very grateful. I know it's early-ish. Early for Brighton, anyway. It's not really early. Stand in the middle of your mat with your feet close or together. Spread your toes. Drop the shoulders. Breathe through your nose if you can. Feel a relationship between the shoulders going down and the chest going up. And we sometimes in the past have imagined that we're holding, say, heavy bags. So if you've got a good imagination, you'll sort of feel what that's like. Maybe you can remember holding heavy bags of equal weight. And as the bags pull down on your descending fibers of your trapezius, in other words, neck to collarbones, then I think it's very, very natural to create a sort of stability at the pelvic floor, a sort of upward moving stability. And of course, in New Age movements, the pelvic floor chakra is associated with stability. Of course, its name, Muladhara, Mula plus Adhara, means, Mula means root, Adhara means to hold something, to support it. So Muladhara chakra or Muladhara support is natural response to keeping energy in the central channel. And we're breathing through the nose. So we've got these heavy bags, we're imagining, and we've got this counter buoyancy at the pelvic floor. We've got our head in line with our spine, we've got the toes relaxed. We're going to let the arms drift up, and perhaps all the way up, lightly toned in the tum, breathing through the nose, incorporating. So we look at different translations of the word yoga, incorporating. It certainly would be a valid one. When we look at the English-Sanskrit dictionary of Monnier Williams, yeah, he is called Monnier Williams. There are over 2,000 definitions of the word yoga, but they all revolve around connecting. So conjoining, bringing together, fusing, merging, connecting. So here we're bringing everything together, the streams of the body. So, feel, move around and feel if you can discover any more streams or fibers that you can incorporate in the uplift. And then take the big circle to release, and the hands come to a prayer position at the heart. And we take 3 deep breaths, or 4. Some deep breaths. So deep breaths coming and going. Sometimes it's nice to let the feet move. Always good to keep the breath flowing. Raise the arms up again. Morning, Kate. Lightly tone the tongue. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, bend ankles, knees, and hips. And you can feel the stretch on the calcaneus tendons, which are the longest tendons in the body from the calf muscles, through to the heel bones, which are called the calcaneus, the heel bones. So up and down movements. Some people find their deltoids that cap the shoulders get tired, so turning the arms the other way or bending or extending, so that we maintain a state or a sense of flow in the breath, the brain, and the body. We never get tight or sticky or stuck. Standing when you're ready in your own way. Yeah, keeping things loose. Big circle, hands to the hips. We're just going to step the feet hip width apart. Have a look down at your toes. Morning, Simon. Morning. And then spread your toes out. So hip width, you've gone too far, actually, with that, Janet. Let's wave behind. How big do you think your hips are? And then spread your toes. Breathe easy. So we're going to ascertain hip width by pushing the pelvis to one side. It's rather camp. It's like on the back the cover of Transformer by Lou Reed. I hope you've got it. And so you feel, produced by David Bowie, Mick Ronson did the string arrangements. Anyway, the hip pushes out to one side. That's the greater trochanter. Both down to the little toe side of the feet. Then we're going to raise our arms up again, as if to celebrate Lou Reed and his work. Lightly toning the tongue, breathe through the nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. And just discovering really, the sensitivity, the responsiveness of the pelvic floor. So as you move left and as you move right, you can perhaps feel the pelvic floor as a sort of sensitivity, a sort of responsiveness, a natural, it's not that you're supposed to be doing anything, just sensing, and then the response is part of that sensing. And then we're going to bend the ankles, knees, and hips as we did before, stretching the calcaneus tendons. Utkatta, this means, utkatta means to squat. So you can go lower or stay where you are or be higher, but keep things flowing. You can bend the arms, whatever you want. Some people are comfortable to come to a low squat. That's fine. It's probably a bit early for that for most of us. So, up to you, what feels right. Breathing into it and finally standing up again. Big, wide circle, hands to the heart, deep breaths, plural. So we're going to take 2, 3, 4 or more deep breaths. Now we're going to turn towards this line in the room, wherever you are in the room, you're turning this way. At home, you can turn anyway, as long as you're facing the short end of your mat. So people in the room facing this line, and at home, wherever you want, as long as you're facing the short end of the mat, and arms by your sides and feet together, raise the arms up again, lightly toning the tummy, breathing through the nose if you can. So your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to stream everything into one flow. So this is sometimes called ekagrata. Ekagrata means literally grasping just one. So eka means one. Grasping just one thing. So that's the richness of the moment. The whole of the moment sort of compiled together. So the relationships between the body, the brain, the breath, the environment. The only way to know that is to get into it. You get into the moment. Like if you go out dancing or you go for a walk along the beach, you get into the moment. That's why people like dancing and walking along the beach. Other ways of getting into the moment are available. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, hands flat. Now that probably means bending the knees, especially early on an early morning class. So feel free and even encouraged to bend your knees. Don't hold your breath. If by some, strange confluence of anatomy and flexibility, if your legs are straight and your back is not in, dullness, aching, or pain, then you might be able to make your back more released. This is instruction for straight legs, which is not, most of us are not. But just in case, by moving your feet, you might be able to move your feet and massage the hamstrings like that, bring more tone to your quadriceps so that the folding comes deeper and the breath is more expressive. But for most of us, we've got bent knees, which is the right thing. Then we're going to step back one way or the other towards the back of the mat into the pose that many people are familiar with, that comes under the name of Adho Mukha Svanasana. Very rarely pronounced correctly by yoga teachers. And that wouldn't matter if they didn't say things like Adho Mukha Svanasana, which translates as half-face dog, which is horrific, sort of horror movie stuff, or Adho Mukha Shavasana, which is down-face corpse, but actually the pose is Adho Mukha Svanasana, head down dog. We don't find the pose mentioned under that name in any yoga texts, apart from modern yoga texts. But we do find it mentioned something similar anyway as Gajasana, meaning the elephant. Gaja means elephant. So you can think of it like a dog stretching if you want, or you can think of it like an elephant being really mindful and aware of its contact with the ground. And that brings about a meditative state, which in this school of yoga we call listening / responding. Come down to your hands and knees when you're ready. Take a deep breath in, and of course follow it with out, and then another, and another, and another. Just take a few of those deep breaths. Perhaps you'll wag your tail to keep things feeling loose. Looseness is very, very important, of course. So jaw soft, eye soft. Raise the leg that's closest to this side of the room, behind you, and feel loose and relaxed and free to play with it, to play with the movement. It can do things like cross right over and touch the floor. Sometimes you get a good stretch that way. Or it might drift out a little bit, or up or down a little bit, or a mixture of all of those. It's not random movements without direction, however. It's not a cop-out on the part of the teaching of yoga. The movements should all conduce to absorption. So the playfulness, we call lila, playfulness, is investigating ways in which you might become absorbed in the richness of the moment. Now we're also going to add the opposite arm extending forward. So now this makes this pose into what's called Vyagrasana. Vyagra means tiger. So like a tiger in the night, burning bright. Another partial misquotes from the poem. Breathing through your nose. Some people, not all, some people like to bend their raised leg and see if they can hold it. And that's an adventure. Some people like to take that adventure. You're allowed if you want. It's optional adventure. Don't hold your breath unless you like that sort of thing. Okay, well done. Back to hands and knees. Wag your tail. Breathe through your nose. Soften your jaw. Look for looseness and tone together. Some people use the quote from the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. And they say, Sthira Sukhamasana, which is okay to do. This is an instruction around what we might say postures, but actually Patanjali probably meant seated postures. But it's stability and ease. So we're looking for a stability in the body, some tone, but it's not hard, it's not sort of rigid. There's flow to it. Let's raise the other leg, the one we just raised up behind us. And again, you can play with it. You might want to cross it over the first one and land the toes. You get certain kind of stretch you can investigate there and breathe into. The groins cross over each other. So you can feel where the insertion for the psoas and the iliacus are, where the groins cross. And then play with it. Some people like to tuck the toes under. Some people prefer the toes pointing back. It's up to you. Breathe through your nose is what really matters. Deeply. And let it flow. Drifting up, drifting down, drifting left, drifting right. Opposite arm can raise up if you feel ready and excited enough to do that. It's got to be the opposite arm for obvious reasons. Nobody can do the same arm, I don't think. Sounds like a challenge. Breathing easy. Again, there's the option, if you wanted to bend the top leg and take hold in this tiger pose. Tiger burning bright. Breathing through your nose. Jaw soft, if you can. Good job, and feel. Back to hands and knees. Catch a deep breath, or 2 or 3 or 4. Just wag your tail this way and that. We're going to bring our forearm down and turn towards the shrine side of the room. So the forearm comes onto the floor, as if you're holding a bunch of flowers. And then you stretch your legs out. We're going to have one leg on top of the other, like this, one foot on top of the inner thigh, like this, and just breathing through the nose. So here we should be facing this way, by the way. If you're facing the other way, quickly turn around and pretend nothing happened there. We'll edit that out from the final movie. And then we're just moving because it massages the iliotibial tract on the lower leg, but also it massages the inner thigh. So you can move forwards and backwards. And then again, it's about the breath. It's all about the breath. So can you get into the body? That's the question here. By moving it, can you find ways to move it that are, rich enough for a moment to at least take you just into that? It's just like this, just that. And that's what we encourage in yoga. Very, very much. We can call it immersion in the field. We can call it surrender to the mother. We can call it releasing into interdependence. It's all the same thing. But from your point of view, my point of view, it feels like a release. It feels like intuition goes up. Great. Okay. Let's now put that foot on the floor behind us instead of on the leg. It's on the floor behind us. And our hand, the hand that isn't supporting us, that goes on the wrist of the other, like this. And then by pushing into the back foot and pushing into the wrist, we simply lift up. And keep calm, as they say, on those cups and t-shirts. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't hold your breath. Feel free to let there be movement instead of just sort of, gritting your teeth and bearing it. Try to meditate into it. Okay, calmly, coming down, not fast, but slow. And then drawing your knees up and then moving. So you still face this side of the room. It's just you're moving which end of the mat your feet are at. And coming again onto the forearm and placing your foot like in a sort of tree pose position, as high up your thigh as you can bring it. The elbow should be a little forwards of the shoulder, and the hand as if you're holding a bunch of flowers. And then you breathe into it. And then a bit of rolling forwards, rolling backwards, and using the sensations for meditations. So if I were to ask you directly, can you feel that you're using the sensations for meditation? There shouldn't be an answer because you're so absorbed. Can't form the words. Right? So meditation is that. It's absorption into a wordless, direct experience of a rich reality where everything's interdependent with everything else. Words separate things into breath. We say, okay, I breathe. And we say there are muscles. We separate the muscles as well and give them names, don't we? Humans give the muscles names. Rectus femoris, rectus abdominis, and on and on. But the reality of the muscles and the skin and the breath and the atmosphere and gravity is that they are interdependent in the moment. And the only way to know interdependence is to surrender. So find richness, give to it. That's all. Find richness and give to it. When you're ready, we're going to place the foot now behind us on the floor. And similarly, we're going to press down into the wrist, and pressing into the back foot, we come up. It's a constant investigation into meditation. That's what yoga is, constant investigation into meditation. And meditation is absorption. It's exactly the same as if you've sat on your doorstep or by your window with the window open and the sun shines in and you feel it on your skin for a moment and you disappear into absorption. That's all it is. Or if you've, someone who likes a coffee and you have a sip of coffee and it's delicious, if you like that sort of thing, and then, you disappear for a moment. It's that sort of thing. Or if you see the sparkles on the ocean and there's no future or past for a moment. Okay, come down slow and calm. Don't rush. Bring your knees up, come up from the side and sit facing this side of the room, so towards the various bodhisattvas. That's Avalokiteshvara in your row. That's Manjushri in your row. And in the middle row today, we have the beautiful green Tara. Okay, hold your big toes. Yes, it's pronounced Tara. But don't sing Tara Boom Tie. Okay. And we're going to lean back a little until our feet come off the floor and breathe through your nose. Jaw soft. And you can play. We're encouraged, in fact, to feel relaxed, to feel playful, to investigate, to not get involved in thinking about it. Just feel it. So some people like to massage the buttocks in this position, rolling this way or that. You're looking for release of your breath. That's how you know it's right. You know it's right because you just disappear. Your name disappears, your gender disappears, your roles in society disappear. The opinion of other members of your family about you disappear, whether negative or positive or just neutral. You can raise a leg if you want, but you don't have to, or both. It's play. It's very easy to get very confused in yoga because yoga books have pictures of people, looking flexible and strong. And you might, one might think, oh, okay, that's the aim. Until I'm flexible and strong, then I'm not that good at yoga. And of course, over the years that I've taught, some people have said to me, oh, I'd love to come to yoga, but I'm not flexible enough, And I'm like, what? That's a misunderstanding. So your legs don't have to be straight, they don't have to be bent. They have to be the position that makes you disappear into the sensations and breathe more deeply. That's good job. So the honesty, the satya of this, the honesty, sometimes, you might realize, actually, if I bend my leg, there's a richness that I can breathe into. That's what we're looking for, a richness that we can breathe into. The pose is called Ubhaya Padangushtasana. And yes, that's the correct pronunciation. No, I don't want you to be impressed. I want you to learn it proper. Cross your legs. Draw the proper light. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Should be a gap between the legs and the pelvis here. And palms up. And breathing deep. So the pronunciation of Sanskrit is an interesting subject. And you could think of it as word yoga, taking care over the word. And also it changes the meaning. So, you can mispronounce something and it can mean something different. Like anahata, that's classically mispronounced as a yoga studio in Brighton. People call it anahata. And that means not unhurt in Sanskrit, which means hurt. If you're not unhurt, you're hurt. So that's not what they meant to call the studio. They didn't mean to, come to our studio. It translates as hurt yoga. No thanks. But if people pronounce it anahata, that means the sound that has never been struck. In other words, om. So that's how it should be. So you see the difference. Anyway, I'm on a roll there. I'll just leave you to the pose, which is sukhasana. So just relax your bum, relax your seat, as if everything was well. As if it was Saturday in a seaside town and the sun was making a jolly good effort. Considering its recent track record, I mean. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, right hand on the floor behind you, cupped fingers, left hand crosses over both legs. Avoid pulling the leg up. It's very tempting to pull the leg up. We avoid that because that indicates tension. And tension indicates dualism, struggle. To have struggle, there must be a struggler, somebody who's struggling. So we relax all struggle. We relax any tension from the inner thigh of that leg. And we're also not pulling the leg up. So sometimes yoga is not about plowing forwards, but about holding yourself back. Holding your conditioned habit patterns, not just letting them run. One of the earliest definitions of yoga talks about a charioteer slowing down the horses of the chariot using reins. So, this is the sort of the yoga of it, slowing it down. Slowing our reactiveness down, our urgentness down, our craving. And of course, yoga is not always taught like this. Sometimes it's taught just as an extension of rushing around modern capitalism, self-improvement, and so on. Okay, lift and keep lifting, turn and keep turning, and you're turning all the way around the other way. Breathe through your nose if you can. So we say in yoga aparigraha, which means it's aparigraha. Means not, Pari means like something like really in this context. Graha means grasping. Not really grasping. Right? So when life is busy, when we have deadlines and the world is busy around us, people, even if we're not rushing, other people are. Then we can get very much caught in this sort of the feeling that we're supposed to be getting to the next thing, whatever that is. You know, like the end, the end of whatever. Project at work, or get the kids to school, or get to the weekend, get to the holiday, or, you know, finally sort your psyche out so, you know, never have any negative thoughts again. Always like trying to get to the end, but yoga is not that at all. Yoga is not trying to reach out. So if you notice any reaching out, it's called upadana in Sanskrit. It means fuel. Upadana, reaching out, fueling the whole thing. Then just notice it, but don't go with it. If you've got an urge to get further. Okay, release back to the center. Well done. Remember which leg you've got crossed in front of which leg? Is it the left? Is it the right? Is it the one with the tattoo on it? This tattoo in Tibetan, it's rather lovely. It says Jim's right leg, like that. And so I never, it doesn't. So I never forget. Okay, take hold of your big toes. We're coming into Ubhaya Padangustas. It says Om Mani Padme Hum, actually. Anyway, lean back. But I have to reel out the old jokes. I've only got 8 jokes in total. So I just got around in this cycle. You probably last heard that one about 10 years ago. It's been about 10 years since I got that one out. Anyway, extending the legs a little or a lot. So it's exactly the same, but is it exactly the same? Heraclitus says you never step in the same river twice. So investigate openness. Investigate openness. Breathing into it. So relax, enjoy. A couple of you have fallen over already, which I'm glad to see. Falling over is part of not taking yourself too seriously, unless you want to take yourself seriously. You know, that can be, you can even take yourself seriously in a way that's not serious. Like actors, you know, being, I don't know, being in a serious role. You know, it's not really serious, is it?
A friend of mine's married to an actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who is it? Tell us. Tell us.
Their comment about actors is they'll
Yeah.
do anything.
They're what?
They'll do anything.
That is true. Can vouch for that.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Not really. It's just because they've been conditioned to do anything, haven't they? Because they're actors. Anyway, we're having a chit chat, but we should be coming down, shouldn't we? And crossing our legs the other way. Let's cross our legs the other way. Actors are often very, very good at yoga, I find, because of that sort of willingness. Yeah, it's like breathe deeply. They're like, okay, breathe deeply, you know. Or, you know, imagine yourself melting. They're like, fine, yeah, not for that. Palms facing up to ourselves, shoulders down. I'm actually an actor. I'm acting the role of a yoga teacher. I've been doing it for 33 years. It's a long job, very long job. Inhale, lift up, exhale, turn. So again, it's the Parivrita Sukhasana, the Parivrita. Pari, again, means really, very. Vrit means to whirl. It's the root of the word vriti, or vrita, means to whirl, to turn around. So to really turn around. Do me a favor, just relax your bum. Take a breath. Yeah, that's it. And keep relaxing the bum just for a few breaths. Because that's going to be the foundation to the next thing I say. So I can't say the next thing until your bum's really relaxed. Don't tense up about trying to relax. And then once your bum's relaxed, so your mind's got to relax for your bum to relax, hasn't it? Got to get into the sunny Saturday mode. And then once your bum's really relaxed, keep it relaxed and easy in the mind as well. And then lift the spine. And if you lift the spine all the way through the spinal column, Can you feel the lumbar, the lower spinal part of the spinal column, what we call the waist? Can you feel the thoracic region of the spinal column correlating to where the ribs are? Your job is just to feel space there and to be very honest about it. And not to feel tightness there, but space. Cervical vertebrae, the neck, 7 bones. Does it feel spacious? So you're being asked to notice the muscles, the breath, the mind. In the race of the tortoise and the hare, the tortoise wins. Good. Turn back to center. What magic that is. Lift when you're ready on the inhale and turn the other way. So let's do that focus again. Firstly, relax your seat. Now, I'm pretty sure, it's certainly true for me and for many people I've spoken to, and I'm pretty sure it will be the same for you, but let me know if it's not, that to relax your seat, to relax your bum, to relax your thighs, it's essential that the mind relaxes too and that the breath releases any tension too. And that it's essential that we're not reaching out, upadana. And that can challenge the conditioning we have in our nerves to get somewhere, not to just enjoy the moment. Now, my parents, and this is not a criticism of them, they're wonderful people, both Kay and Melvin. Melvin not with us anymore. He's gone to that great Gilbert and Sullivan show in the sky. Anyway, every time when I was a kid, if I did anything and they thought I did it well, it was very sweet of them. If I drew cartoons, they'd say, "Oh, you should be a cartoonist." Or if I wrote a little story, they'd say, "Oh, you should be a journalist." They want to take it to the end point, and that's very nice. It's very nice that they said that. But we all have that tendency. If I sang into had a little shopping basket when I was a kid, on a sort of wheelie shopping basket made of wicker, had a little red handle. I used to stand in front of my mirror singing into it like it was a microphone. So my parents used to say, "Oh, you should be a singer." That's until I sort of chewed the end of it and ruined it. I was pretty young at the time. So similarly, we're not going anywhere. Enter into this. The present moment is like a raft that's already moving on the current of the river. Your job is not to paddle the raft, but to get onto it. See? Now, on the basis of this relaxation, mind and body breath of the seat, we're going to lift the spine and feel all of it. Let's do that together. Lift it up, the whole spine. But make sure it's not tense. The lumbar, the thoracic, the cervical. Be very honest. It's difficult for me. I'm very much a sort of restless, sort of next thing kind of person. I've drawn these beautiful drawings for yoga teacher training, a flip chart. They're all very nice. And I noticed yesterday that one of them, I'd just written the first 3 letters of the word gracious, and then I must have just gone on to something else and finished. Kadeem pointed it out and said, "We didn't finish writing that." The word gracious. So that, we can bounce around a bit. Here we're staying focused on the spinal column. Return to center when you're ready. Good job, everyone. We're going to turn towards this midline of the room again. Actually, yeah, okay, we'll turn. So in the room, we're turning towards that midline. This is the midline. Okay, you're choosing that one. All right, choose that one then. This one. Sorry, there's rebellion gone on. This is the midline of the room now because people. No, just stay as you are. Yeah, you're good as you are. Stay as you are, Janet. We just turn Phil around. Phil, you can. Yes. Yeah, that's it. That midline is very rebellious today. Breathe through your nose if you can. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Sorry to put my back to you, Zoomers. Put your hands behind your head. Go on. Yeah, what's that noise? Who made that noise? Is it you, Janet? Janet loves this pose. Make sure you've got room behind you because we're going to roll back. Make sure you're not going to roll back into a radiator or whatever. And then roll back. And the mantra is, oh God. And we're going to raise the toes up, level with the eyes. And it's called half boat pose. And some days it's easier than others. And it's a boat, so it can bob a bit on the ocean. It doesn't have to be still. It might even tremble. You can let it move around. Well done. Sometimes boats capsize. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Well done. Okay, bend your knees. Hug your legs and lift your spine. Breathe through your nose and just massage your back. So deeper breaths, just massaging your back. Jaw soft, eyes soft, massaging, 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 breathing, breathing, breathing. Now I have a lot of beliefs. I believe that money is a real thing, and I believe, what do I believe? I believe in all sorts of things about the universe, but I also believe that you can fly. And I believe you can touch the sky. Sorry, I'm not going to do the whole of that song. But that's a prelude for me asking you to do two things. Take a brick block. Other blocks are available. Take a blanket. Put the brick block behind the blanket. Thus. Nothing wrong with that, is there? I don't mind. It doesn't matter how the blanket is. It's just a psychological aid. Yeah. Jump up onto your perch, little birds. That's it, up onto your perch. Now, your hands are not going to be on the blanket. That's just there for psychological reassurance, because I couldn't help noticing when you arrived at class today what beautiful faces you all have. And we want to protect those faces. So if you feel like you're going to fall forwards, at least you've got that reassurance. But you're not going to fall forwards. It's just psychological reassurance. Now, when I mean business, and maybe you're the same, I roll my sleeves up. So I would recommend, if you've got sleeves that can roll up and don't cut off your circulation, that you do. It's quite a cool look, but also better to have less material against material. Next thing we're going to do, and this is good enough like this, it's a great stretch for your back muscles, for the erector spinae group and others. The next thing we're going to do is bring our arms back and press the tricep right underneath the shin, and then place the hand. And we're going to do that with both arms, which is why it's better to have either skin to skin or just minimum. You don't want two pieces of fabric really against each other, because they're very unstable. So that's it. And for most people, this is really, for me, certainly, it's a great stretch. I can feel it across my back. I can feel it in the groins, the inner thighs. I can feel it around the tailbone. So that's definitely something to breathe into. For some people, it feels interesting to investigate a combination of leaning and pushing. So you lean, but so you don't just keep leaning until your face comes into the blanket, you push with the hands. And for some, as a result, it starts to feel like you might get light on your toes. So light, that is, that one or two even attempt to lift a toe, or even two. So this is called the Bakasana, which means crane. And you don't have to lift your feet. It's just a little, just a little thing to get you out the house, So you're not. You got a little, yeah, okay, you got no, well, it's fine. It's fine. Fair enough. Well done, everyone. That will do. You don't have to do it all day long, but just, another moment if you want, and just come to your tippy toes. Well, you will again. And then coming down, breathe through your nose. Well done, everyone. Bakasana, it's called Bakasana, which means the crane and doesn't mean the crow, ever. Yoga teachers might say it means the crow, but it doesn't. That's all I have to say on the subject. Roll a blanket up into a sausage or a saucisson. If you're from France, you might call it a saucisson. Okay, beautiful blue sausage. And once you've made your beautiful blue sausage, we're going to do what you shouldn't do with a comestible sausage, and that is lay on it. So you're going to lay on it with it going underneath the bottom edge of your shoulder blades. Right? When it's in the right position, what it should do for your chest is lift your chest up and pull it over. So it's not on your shoulder blades, but it's right underneath, immediately underneath. Keep your legs together and stretch your arms up. Keep your legs together and stretch your arms up. Breathe through your nose. So the adductor muscles, the inner thighs, are toned enough to keep your legs together, but they stay fluid and flowing. They're not tight. Now we're going to wave our arms side to side, like we're sort of waving them side to side at a musical, popular music concert, perhaps waving our arms to the hits of Cliff Richard at one of his concerts, although I don't think he does them anymore. Side to side, or perhaps we're waving them side to side, listening to the music of Shawadi Wadi and their wonderful hit, The Moon of Love, or other more recent artists that I can't name. Taylor Swift, there you go, I did it. And then gradually the arms go over and they come down towards the floor. And I hope, and I want to encourage you to feel like you're really toning the body as it stretches. So the arms might not easily reach the floor, so you can reiterate the movement of your shoulder blades, lifting one arm up and moving the shoulder blade, lifting the other arm up, lifting the shoulder blade. That can be very, very helpful. Keep the tummy toned, keep the neck soft, keep the legs close. Breathe through your nose if you can. Don't let the legs drift away from each other. Keep them together, close. See if you can stretch a little bit more. Let's do, just for a moment together, see if we can suck in the tummy, suck in the side ribs, just get longer as you suck in more. Contribute that to increase length in the body. You suck in more and you lengthen more. It's dynamic, it's powerful, it's interesting, it's meditative. It causes a total surrender into the powerful, intense richness. That's what we're looking for in yoga. Okay, well done. Arms come forwards. Bend your legs. Place your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath that I can hear. Rest your hands wherever's comfortable. Tummy, ribs, wherever. Take a few deep breaths. Keep the jaw passive and roll over onto your side whenever you're ready. Well done, everyone. More blanket work for you now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking nice and chilled, actually. It's obviously doing its job. So hopefully you can take this chilled vibe. Yeah, good. That's how you should look. Chill, like take this chill vibe into pleating your blanket. Okay, so don't get tense. Don't worry, no one's judging you. Well, apart from me, I'll be judging you. Not you. I'll judge your blanket, but but it doesn't. It's no slight on you. Some people are just scruffy beggars, aren't they? It's just all there is to it. So it's pleated first, and then it's rolled. Pleated. It's not pleated is backwards, forwards. Pleated is not over and over. So it's pleated. Beautifully done. Good job. And then you roll it up into a snail from this end, the short end. So once you've pleated it, you roll it. Good. Some of you did a beautiful job. Mm. And you roll it into a snail, and there'll be a range of different appearances to the snail. Some of them will be immaculate. Some of yours is pretty good, actually, Kate. You looks like you're sort of embarrassed about it, but it looks good. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw. Sometimes it comes out better than others. Now, for most of us, we're not going to put that on a support. But if you've got a long back, or if you've got a flexible back, you might put that on a support to stretch over. And you're probably going to need blocks for your head. So the probable position is no block underneath it, 2 or more blocks for your head, and even for your hands, like that. If you've got more flexibility in your body, you might put it on a plinth because it makes it higher. And you might use less or perhaps even no blocks, but most people are definitely going to use blocks. And if I explain and I'll show you the pose, then you'll see why that's so important. It's because your bum, when you come into it, I'll just show you. You're going to cross your legs in a minute. Don't do it yet. You're going to scoot the buttocks under. The blanket rolls going into your thoracic, that is to say your ribs, not your lower back. That's free. And then keeping your bum on the floor by stretching over, your head has got to come down to something. So either a block or the floor, but you mustn't lift your bum up to get your head down. So you're probably going to need 2 or 3 blocks or more for your head. You can see that if you take a bit of time, your head might come lower, but that probably doesn't mean to the floor. You only put it on a plinth if you've got a flexible back or long back. And remember, it's crossed legs to start. The pose is called Matsyasana, which means fish. So your legs are crossed like a fish's tail. This blanket goes into your middle back, not right up high, not nowhere near your neck, but not down low, nowhere near your waist. Your middle back, so it's a fulcrum for your chest, up and over. Matsyendra or Matsyendranatha, as is sometimes called, is revered both by Hindus and Buddhists alike. Probably a Vajrayana practitioner who taught some of these hatha techniques, but Matsyendra means Lord of the Fish. So Matsya means fish. You need 2 more than you've got. There you go.
That's 4, isn't it?
That's 4. Oh, I didn't want to say it out loud, but it is 4, yeah. I like stretching my arms up over my head and then toning the tummy, stretching the arms down towards the floor. If you tone your tummy as the arms move, then your lower back will get longer as the arms move further. Mm-hmm. So you listen to the instructions again. If you tone your tummy as your arms move, your lower back will actually extend. The muscles will get longer. And that will feel good. Feel into it your own way. Keep that toned tummy. There's no room for spacing out or thinking about the present moment or the future or the past. You have to, as St. Augustine says, don't try and put the cup in the ocean. You've got to don't try and put the ocean in the cup. You've got to throw the cup into the ocean. Toned is like eccentric contraction. In other words, as it's stretching, it keeps them toned. So it's not just released totally, but it's got eccentric contraction means the muscle keeps its tone as it stretches. Yeah. If you think about the anatomy of eccentric contraction, what's happening is that the individual muscle cells within the fibers keep their tone, but the fibers themselves stretch longer into a sort of longer weave. And it will pull on the front pelvis and lengthen your lower back. Well done, everyone. Coming up by bringing your arms forwards, pressing into the ground, taking your time. Take a few deep breaths. Jaw soft. Well done. Just sitting cross-legged, upright, cross-legged. Well done. And taking a few deep breaths, just cross-legged, upright, seated position. And breath is everything. So let's take deliberately 3 deep breaths. Let's all do that together. 3 deep breaths. All right, good job. Let's draw the buttock flesh out and back when you're ready. So, yeah. Great. So simple sukhasana, just sitting as you are. When you feel ready, coming out of that pose and onto your hands and knees, please. Wag your tail a bit, wiggle if you wanna. Breathe through your nose. Again, that toned tummy. So toned tummy, the way you go about it here is to draw your belly up, away from the floor, and then to press into your hands and use your chest and ribs to then stretch the tummy. So as you push into your hands, feel the ribs pulling towards the head, stretching the tummy, and it should end up like a dumbek, a North African drum, which there's sort of tight skin on the North African drums. It's got a lovely sound to them, but I'm sure your tummy would have a lovely sound if someone wanted to play it right now. So you stretch it and you breathe into it. So the eccentric contraction. And then we're going to move into the concentric contraction of the same muscles, the tummy muscles. So that means we're going to imagine that there's an energy from the pubis towards the belly button and from the breastbone towards the belly button. So the fibers mesh into each other. There's a contraction, slow contraction. Imagine the fibers weaving deeper into each other, and your back, as a result, begins to round, but it's a very dynamic action in the belly muscles. Very dynamic. They're really, really switched on. And you keep breathing into that. Really switched on. So holding them then, after moving through concentric contraction, we're holding them in what's called isometric, iso meaning the same, and metric meaning length. So isometric contraction. We're going to pull them out into eccentrics. Remember, the tone that you feel you stay with, but you stretch the toned muscles. So the back begins to curve. This is what some yoga teachers call cat-cow, unfortunately mistranslating the Sanskrit, which actually means cat, wild cat. Parijasana, Vitalasana. Vitala is what people translate as cow. I have no idea why. Because there's no source that I've ever found, or Sanskrit dictionary or Sanskritist. I've asked one Sanskritist. It just means wild cat, and that's all it means. Vitala. Good. Speaking of cats, let's come into dog. So down face dog when you're ready. Breathe through your nose. Push the pose off your wrists by pushing it backwards. Breathe through your nose. Allow your body to move in ways that help you feel through it. For some people, that means moving the pelvis as you elongate the arms. For some people, it means hydrating the hamstrings a bit more by bending and extending the knees. That can help. The rule is not what you do, but what it's doing for you matters. It doesn't matter what you do. But is it bringing you into this sort of surrendered absorption? Well done.
Come down, slow and calm and easy. Put your blanket down for luxury on your yoga mat, and we're going to lay on it on this highly luxurious surface on our tummies. Lay on our tummies. We're going to have a block ahead of us. If you've got two, you could have two. One's fine though. I'll use one in case you've only got one, but I'll give instructions for one or two blocks. Good job, good job. Coming onto your tummy. Up on the elbows, breathing through your nose. So if you bring yourself up onto your elbows, you'll be able to enjoy stretching your tummy muscles, which have just been toned. So now they'll enjoy a stretch. And if you move to the left, you can stretch the right side of your tummy muscles. If you move to the right, you can stretch the left side. And if you move between them, you can stretch both. And the more you stretch them, the more you're going to enjoy the poses that we're going to do in a minute. Now, not only are we stretching the superficial fascia, but we're also stretching deeper fascial layers, including muscle layers. So let's stretch the legs back as well. Between the inner groins and the sides of the lower spine, the psoas muscle. So if you use your elbows to stretch your tummy forward and then stretch your legs backwards, you'll be able to stretch your psoas muscle. Now we're going to reach forwards either to one or two bricks. So obviously one for each hand if you've got two, or just one for both hands if you've got one, it doesn't matter. And you breathe through your nose if you can. Good job, everyone. Try not to turn your heels in. If you're near enough to someone to give them a high five, feel free. High five. Oh, not quite. So actually, we're going to deliberately turn our heels in. Just turn your heels in. Notice how your back feels a little tighter. Now turn your heels away from each other, not fully, but just so they're upright. Breathe into that looser feeling in the back and the buttocks. Now use the buttocks to raise the legs without turning the heels in. Breathe through your nose if you can. Let it be a meditation. Meditation means a sense of studying for the purpose of absorption. Well done. Come down and place one hand on top of the other to rest your head on your hands, and take 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths. This is called Makarasana. A makara is a mythological sea creature. It's the Varuna, the vehicle that is of Varuna, the god Varuna. And by some wonderful coincidence, Makara also means, in a different language, a pillow in the Japanese language. Great. Coming up again to your elbows. Bring yourself a little forward so that, yes, you have the blanket for the pelvis, but it would be great if we can have the non-slip yoga mat for our hands, if possible. The hands go roughly around the mid ribs, and we stretch the legs. We stretch the legs back. We stretch the tummy forward. You can see me doing it repeatedly. You can get as much length as you can and stretch the legs back. The legs themselves are quite close together. And this is enough, just lifting the chest with the elbows pointing back. You can feel your back muscles working. There's plenty to go on. If you want, you can also add, it's another addition, optional addition, and that is sucking the tummy in, pulling the chest forward. So it's a sort of deep body thing that makes your back feel longer. And the tummy sucks in, and then inside the body, it feels like it moves up. And then if that's established, some people feel that they want to push into their hands and keep the elbows bent if you want to keep the shoulders down, or even have the hands a little further forwards. And then this is bringing us into a more recognizable form of the pose, Bhujangasana. Bhuja means various things in Sanskrit. It can be an elephant's trunk, it can be an arm of a person, and it can be a snake. Bhuja. So all about time. You've got to spend a little bit more time with it if you don't mind, another few breaths, and creating length. If it feels tough and hard and difficult, you're in exactly the right place. This is exactly what you should be doing. We've just caught you in time before the whole thing became just a solid stick. More breaths, well done, you're doing good. Suck that tummy in and you'll feel your spine can go in. Well done. And as we always say in yoga, when Kate comes down, we all come down. So Kate's down, so we're all coming down. Rest one hand on top of the other. Take a deep breath, huff and puff a bit. Tough love, this is called tough love. So sometimes we just go, the path of least resistance, don't we? And that's okay. But to feel awake, I've got a huge image of the Buddha behind me. And it's his name is the past passive participle of the root bud. So this actually sounds more complicated than it is. Past passive participle. Well, past means it happened in the past. Passive means that it just happened to him. That's in the passive tense. Participle just means it's got that added on the end. So anyway, that makes the root bud into Buddha eventually. And it means he who woke up. He woke up. So he didn't wake himself up. He woke up. It's passive. So here, by challenging habit patterns, we wake up to the fact that we're oftentimes controlled by habit patterns. Let's come up onto our elbows again for more exciting adventures. Now, once you're up, which you're up now, right? So up, come. Stretch your tummy, stretch your tummy, stretch your tummy, stretch your tummy. Yeah, and so you can be sort of snake-like. Every time you move left, pull on your forearms and use it to stretch the tummy. I love the feeling myself of stretching down through those various fibers and keeping the body fluid and loose. If you don't, it just will get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. That's what happens to human bodies if you don't keep moving them. Breathing through your nose. Now, there's an option from here to take hold of a shin, ankle, or foot. And you can do that and then take hold of the other, release that and then take the other one, or you can do both together at the same time. Shin, ankle, or foot. And then that's enough, isn't it? Just like that, you might feel like you're wrestling, and you're like, who's wrestling me? Oh, it's me. And so, you just kind of stay in that position, slightly confused by the wrestling match, wrestling yourself. And that's enough. Some people in a calm mental state like to lift the chest and legs and deeply imagine the spinal column traveling deep into the body as they lift up. So that's another option. You might not want, so you've got lots of options. Hold one leg at a time, hold both legs together, hold both legs while lifting up. Those are the options. One leg at a time. No, none of these options are better than the other. If it's a challenge, it's a challenge. That's all we need to know. Good job. Good. Now, if I say down you come, I don't think anyone's going to resist. Place one hand on top of the other. Huff and puff, like you've just sort of landed on a beach somewhere shipwrecked, collapsed on the sand, exhausted. Perhaps you glance up and see there's a crate of Bounty bars that's washed up as well. That's great. Things are going to go well on the island. The confectionery is available. Breathe through your nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Well done again. People have been hearing me saying this for years. I wish I had a giant spatula, because right now, that's what you need to be able to get onto your side. You need me to flip you over. But I ain't got one. So just roll over. You're going to have to do it yourself. Ah, I can't, Jim. Spatula me over. You can't do it myself. You can. You're okay. Everything's okay. Come up from the side. Oh, you're all right. Everything's okay. Come up nice and easy. It's time to make a sandwich. You're probably thinking, well, great. I had to skip breakfast today. Love a sandwich. Unfortunately, it's not that kind of sandwich. We're going to make a sandwich where the filling is a blanket. Not a very nice sandwich, I have to admit. The filling is a blanket, and the yoga mat comes over the top. And that should make a non-slip surface that has ample padding for your knees, which is what we want. Okay, and then you come onto it, just like I've done here, kneeling up. Now, usually there's two options for the leg distance. Let's go for putting a hand in between the legs. And then, so that's the distance for the knees. And the feet are exactly the same distance as that. Exactly the same distance as that. If you know you've got a wide range of flexibility, you can do it with the legs and the shins together. Hands then come onto your hips. If you're not shy, or if you're at home and no one's watching, it's quite good to put the skin on the skin. But you might feel very shy. I don't want to get my skin out. It's fine. But it is better that way. Because the more purchase you have, the more lift you're going to have. So press down through your body and lift up. The tummy sucks in, and this is all about height and stretch. We're not worrying about anything other than height and stretch. You might even interiocept your awareness. You might bring it to the inside of the body feelings and keep looking for height and stretch. Height and stretch. Of course, over time, if you keep going up like this, it may be that the back begins to arch a bit. That's fine if it does. It's fine if it doesn't. We're just looking at height and stretch. If it does start to arch a bit, still stay focused on arch and stretch. If it really arches over time, you may realize that, oh, my hands could touch my feet. Well, you can if you want. It's not a necessary part of this at all, but you can if you want. Bring your hands to the feet in that circumstance. But most of us, we're just concentrating on height and stretch. Height and stretch. Good. Coming back up and sitting down. You can put a block between the heels and buttocks so your knees are tight. Take a deep breath or two. Well done. Well done. Or three. That's the Ustrasana. Ustra means camel. Ustra. So breathing through your nose. You might be softening your back. It's quite stimulated. The muscles are activated. The spinal discs have been moved a little. And we've provided space for the discs to work their way back in if there's any slight bulging, which is very, very common. So just letting the discs settle back in, but staying fully aware. And sometimes movement is intuitive. It's an intuitive way of working the discs back in. Breath, breath, breath. Meditation, meditation. We're going to come to a seated position. Cork block's a good thing to sit on for this, but if that's not comfortable, you can sit differently. It's good to have enough blankets for your legs to be able to rest on, so I'm going to turn my lift the other way. And the pose I'm going to suggest, it's just a suggestion, is this one, Siddhasana. So Siddha, of course, is in the name Siddhartha. which is the name, the birth name of the Buddha was Siddhartha Gautama in Sanskrit, Siddhartha Gautama in Pali. And Siddha means an adept. So if someone is a Siddha, they're an adept. So this is the adept's pose. It's different from Sukhasana, which is cross-leg position, in that the heels are lined up with each other and the midline of the body in this Siddhasana. If it's not comfortable, however, please feel free to change the position so it is. But that's the adept's pose. Heels both line up directly with each other and the midline of the body. The chest is buoyant, lifted, jaw is soft, passive. Perhaps there's a little movement. Sometimes that feels good. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. Is that working? Which one? Try that and that together. Does that work? Mantra uchara. Mantra uchara means pushing a mantra up. Mantra uchara. When the mantra we're going to push up is the Om. I mentioned it earlier when I mentioned the name of one of Brighton's yoga studios or practice studios, which is called Anahata. Which I mentioned that in pronunciation. If you pronounce it correctly, Anahata means the unstruck sound. If a sound hasn't been struck ever, then it doesn't have a beginning. And so this is called the pranava, the Om. We're going to push the Om. We're going to imagine as best as we can, and you only get the results if you put in the effort, if you try it, if you follow the methods. So we're going to imagine that the mantra Om starts at the pelvic floor, and we can viscerally feel it moving up. And when it gets to the nasal area, we emphasize the nasal part of the sound, so it becomes what's known as a sound needle to penetrate through the last knots here, and it goes right up out of the crown of the head. So we're going to do that 3 times, the mantra Om. Take a deep breath in. Again, when you're ready. Last one. Deep breaths to follow. Feel the whole spinal column and imagine every part of it felt spacious. If any part feels tight, go to that part and loosen and open and release. This is how we center viscerally, physically. We're going to continue our practice of focusing on the central channel as we come into another, what we call Sanketa, that is the Sanketa of Shavasana. So we're going to be laying on our back. So open up your mats, make sure you've got everything you need to lay comfortably. Laying on your back like this is a Sanketa, that is a teaching from Shiva, mentioned in the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra.
never fail to be impressed how quickly people put their socks on, get their blankets. People are so keen, so keen to get in. Palpable enthusiasm. The head should be supported if it tips backwards. The legs are fully extended, not crossed, nothing, just straight out. If your back's sore, however you can, keep your legs bent with the feet on the floor. The limbs are fully released, the arms, the legs, the head. The legs should not be too wide. And I think you, like I, used to very much, I used to actually come years ago, before this Buddhist center was a Buddhist center, I used to go to the old Buddhist center. And I swear to you, I used to come for two reasons: corpse pose and the walk home afterwards. And I kept coming week in, week out. The walk home afterwards, the world would seem brighter. The light would seem lighter. Sparkles would sparkle more. Colors would seem richer. And the Shavasana, I would disappear and reappear. Disappear from name and form, nama rupa. Disappear from limitations to do with conditions. Home life, work life, condition of the body, the weather, fiscal conditions, disappear from those conditions and reappear in what really felt like, yes, this is who I am. Formless, nameless, ageless. Formless, nameless, ageless, deathless. Feel into the body in a way that's relaxed and interested. You might move your toes, you might move your fingers, you might move your arms, you might rub your face. Just feeling naturally into the body. When you're ready, bend your legs, placing the soles of the feet onto the floor. Scooting the buttocks under until your back feels soft. Take a deep breath to release the back totally into the breath. Then when you're ready, roll onto your side, facing away from the shrine side of the room, with knees drawn up and tummy soft. Laying as comfortably as you can on your side. Knees drawn up and tummy soft. When you're ready, calm and easeful, roll over again and lay as comfortably as you can on your other side. Again, with knees drawn up, tummy soft. Let a bit of light filter very gently into the eyes. Maybe stretch out an arm or a leg. investigative movements. When you feel ready, calmly, without haste, come up from the side and face towards the shrine side of the room with your hands in a prayer position at the heart. And if you agree with the following sentence, make sure you say Om at the end, which means I agree. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. Thank you so much for your time. Super appreciate it. There's a meditation that follows this, run by the beautiful Shri Pada. If you ever want to come to that, it's just a donation, and she's a great teacher. Marvelous to see you, Zoomers. Thank you very, very much for your time. Mwah. Stay out of trouble now. Hang loose, dudes. Bye.